Have you ever zoned out so bad that you missed that really important instruction? Or you missed like the whole point of the story that the person is telling you? I often forget what is happening as it's happening because I float in and out. I space out when I'm at the grocery store and I somehow miss something I was supposed to get. Whenever I'm adding water to my fish tank, the filtered water spigot, it's running. I walk away, then I come back and it's been overflowing for a while. When I pop something in the microwave and I'm standing right in front of it, I only intend to leave it in for a few seconds. I leave it in for a whole minute. I've fried one too many leftovers that way and damn near burnt the house down on a couple of occasions. For ADHD and autistic brains, checking out and shutting off isn't a character flaw. It's what happens when your brain has been on too long with no off switch. Our brains just kind of go offline. Not because we're broken, but because we're overloaded. Not only do you check out, but the people who are none the wiser are still talking to you and you're nodding. I find it annoying that my brain has enough audacity to not only put me in an altered state, but then trick everybody else into thinking that I'm still with them. Finding ways to turn your brain off, not completely, to channel things out, get to a relaxed state where you're not just totally burning energy 24/7. That takes awareness, that takes practice, and it takes routines, which is exactly what we're going to talk about. Have you ever zoned out so bad that you missed that really important instruction? Or you missed like the whole point of the story that the person is telling you? I often forget what is happening as it's happening because I float in and out, right? I can't tell you how many times I've missed the whole point of what my girlfriend was saying when she was saying it. Or I space out when I'm at the grocery store and I somehow miss something I was supposed to get. Whenever I'm adding water to my fish tank, the filtered water spigot, that it's running and I walk away, forget to set a timer, and then I come back and it's been overflowing for a while. And one of my least favorite things about myself is when I pop something in the microwave and I'm standing right in front of it and I only intend to leave it in for, a few seconds and then I leave it in for a whole minute and that was way too long for the item in there. I've fried one too many leftovers that way and damn near burnt the house down on a couple of occasions. For ADHD and autistic brains, checking out and shutting off isn't a character flaw. It's what happens when your brain has been on too long with no off switch. Sometimes it's not that we just lose focus, our brains just kind of go offline. Not because we're broken, but because we're overloaded. You know what the most annoying part is too? Not only do you check out, but the people who are none the wiser are still talking to you and you're nodding or going, haha, yeah, every now and then. And they just think that you're still listening to them and you are long gone. I find it annoying that my brain has enough audacity to not only put me in an altered state, but then trick everybody else into thinking that I'm still with them. If only it were more obvious. So what is that? What is that autopilot, the checkout thing that you might do if you're ADHD or on the spectrum or a bit of both? Neurodiverse nervous systems under stress tend to dissociate or go offline. Think of it as your brain's protective circuit breaker. When it's under too much stress, when it's overloaded, there's too much stimuli, and there's been no rest. It just decides to shut off rather than overstimulate you even more. So anytime you're overstimulated, there's too many stress factors, there's noise, there's interruptions, you're thinking of too much. For me, in public when it tends to happen, I'm usually anxious and overstimulated. If I'm at a networking meeting or something like that, that's on the larger side. It's in a restaurant or a bar or someplace that's kind of a little bit loud. So I'm sitting there trying to have meaningful conversations with people, but for everybody else, it seems to not bother them. But for me, I'm like, oh my God, I can barely keep track of what we're saying, what's happening. It's an overload. And, that can be really hard. And then at home, There can be overstimulation at home too, like the TV's on and somebody's trying to talk to me and my phone keeps going off and the dog is like having the zoomies or whatever, like all at the same time. Oh, and the stove is on and the fan's on, and I'm just like, no, no, no. My brain, something's got to go, and my brain usually is the thing that goes, I guess. And also, if I'm thinking about a lot of other stuff, that can be a thing that if I'm not fully prepared for the conversation that's happening, whatever is going on around me that I'm supposed to be paying attention to, because I've been thinking about a lot of other stuff, not in like a negative, like a rumination way, but I've just got an active mind, right? I've just got a lot on my mind, and I'm not ready to pull myself away. I haven't like just made a clean cut and pull myself back to the present fully. I'm not going to get much of whatever's being said or whatever I was supposed to be doing. It's not going to happen correctly. And I'm sure you can relate. We all have maybe some funny, maybe some not so funny moments where this has happened and gotten the best of us. Or, unfortunately, sometimes put us in awkward, embarrassing, and unpleasant moments where we're being misunderstood. It's, the people around us may think that we don't care what they have to say, or we just don't care to pay attention to them, and that is disrespectful. That's not what it is, and that deep down, but it's hard to express that to others. It's hard to have others understand that sometimes. So it's important to develop awareness tools and work on this as much as you can. Not only to help you keep yourself on track, but also just to keep the peace in your life and keep these moments that can happen to a minimum and keep them from taking over, frankly. An unregulated nervous system unchecked, particularly for a person who is neurodiverse, is just a recipe for disaster, and we definitely want to avoid that. Because the end result of all that can be chronic fatigue and a lot of other issues. Sensory overload and chronic fatigue can manifest themselves in a number of ways. It looks like a loss of skills, like lack of planning or being able to initiate tasks, impaired focus, forgetfulness, decision paralysis, and even feeling overwhelmed by daily chores. You feel obligated to increase masking, and you kind of have a strong need to withdraw for recovery's sake, also known as burnout. And if you've never been there, you certainly don't want to be there. If you're new to this, or maybe you've experienced it and you don't know, burnout is when it's not really depression, but it can manifest itself in similar ways. You just don't really have the energy for anything anymore because you've just overdone it. Either, you got into a hyper-focus mode and overdid it and didn't give yourself enough rest, and then you got overstimulated and then you kind of crashed out, or just daily life, things get missed. You put emotions, you put feelings, you put sensory input and sensations that are overwhelming to you to the side when you've got shit to do, right? Well, for the neurodiverse crowd, that comes creeping back up on us in very annoying ways. And one of those ways is you just run out of energy, and to a much higher degree than a neurotypical person, because our brains are always working, and it's not just like one engine, it's like 12, right? I've always imagined that like inside my brain are a bunch of men that just like run around and like spin plates, and like somebody's holding like 8 of them, and somebody else has to come around and like spin the others or whatever. There's just like gears turning all the time for me. And it's very, very hard to turn that off. And as a kid, I struggled to fall asleep because of it. And as an adult, I've come up with ways to deal with it, but I wouldn't say that I'm never, ever challenged. Finding ways to turn your brain off, not completely, but just learn to channel things out and get to a relaxed state where you're not just totally burning energy 24/7. That takes awareness, that takes practice, and it takes routines, which is exactly what we're going to talk about. Hey there, what's up? My name's Ashley. I'm a neurodiverse life coach, and I help people who are ADHD and on the spectrum find their purpose, find their flow at home, at work, and live a life that is better conducive to who they are and how they function. I also help people navigate big life changes, shifts in values, spiritual awakenings, and burnout. So if any of that sounds like you, this is the place to be. Like, subscribe, and I put out videos every week. So as a general rule, it's important to do check-ins with yourself several times a day. At least 2 to 3. But especially as you feel stress and tension rising, it's important to check in with yourself again and do what they call a body scan. And that is really just bringing awareness to all areas of your body and the sensations involved. So you really just want to like sit down or lay down, Just take some deep breaths and get yourself like a little bit grounded. And then I want you to start like from your toes up through your ankles and your calves and your knees and your thigh and all the way up through your body, and just be aware of sensations. You don't necessarily have to start to change anything. Just bring awareness to it. If you do encounter some discomfort or tension, you can take a few deep breaths and breathe into it and imagine that tension relieving itself. And as you get to the end of the body scan, and you're kind of like gotten all the way up to the top of your head, right? Now you start to imagine your body as a whole and how it all works together, noticing its connection and its aliveness. I know it sounds a little woo, but it is important to get in touch with your body. When we aren't aware of our body and our nervous system and how it's functioning throughout the day, that's when we get ourselves into these like danger zone moments where we kind of crash out, we burn out, or we check out, right? We dissociate, just like we're talking about now. So once you've done that body scan, you've brought attention to, those areas of your body and whatever's going on with them. You don't have to necessarily try to change it unless you want to release a little tension, but just be aware of them, right? Just bring awareness. And what you're doing by harnessing your focus on like one thing at a time and just moving throughout, you're slowing down your nervous system when it comes to all the other shit, right? All the other noise in your head. It really helps. Not only bring awareness to where in your body you're just kind of feeling sensations, whether they be good, bad, or neutral, and also, like I said, just kind of bringing your attention to one place. And once you're done with that, you bring your awareness back to the present, and you can open your eyes and all that, and go on about your day. Now, if things are rough, it's important to have a grounding anchor. What does that look like? Well, it might depend on where you are. If you're out at work, maybe it's time to take a bathroom break and go sit somewhere for 5 minutes in peace and quiet, and maybe in the dark. Maybe go to your car and check out for 5 minutes. Maybe like go scroll for 5 minutes, or do some breathing exercises. Do the body scan. If you're at home, you can put your feet on the floor. You could do a breath exercise, do a 5-minute walk, do a short guided meditation. Whatever you can get away with where you are, do it. Even if you do it in front of everyone and you look like a little bit of a weirdo, who cares? You're probably not the weirdest person out there. And this is more of a practical, everyday thing, and it has to do with communication and how you bring awareness to others. You can't depend on others to keep your awareness to the present always. It's up to you, ultimately. But there's nothing wrong with bringing some awareness to the people around you, and asking for what you need in particular. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe somebody's trying to start an important conversation with you, and you should know better that you're probably like not in a good place to be in the present with that. There's too much stimulus. The TV's on, there's noise. You're in a bad spot to have the conversation. Like you can't hear them very well. Or you just got home. Especially if you're autistic, you just got home. You have not had no time to decompress, and like somebody's hitting you with questions. I can't do that. We have to I'm like, please give me 5. I need 5 minutes. Ask for what you need. And that's something that people who are neurodiverse, particularly those who are autistic, really struggle with, is asking for what they need, self-advocating. You can set yourself up for better success by giving that person a heads up and helping them understand what you need in order to have a productive conversation or get things done in a manner that is not going to be total chaos for you. It's better to show up after taking a little break or having a meal or taking a shower, whatever you need to have a little reset when you come home or before you engage with somebody and you need to be present and you're really tired and you need a minute. Maybe it's can we please have this conversation tomorrow if it's not super serious? Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. People can be understanding if you just give them a clue as to where you're at realistically. Now, if you're having a day where you've spaced out several times, it's been just a struggle from the start, do what you can to minimize the rest of your day. Be kind. Definitely give yourself some time to decompress, to reintegrate, have a longer reset than just a little 5-minute one for sure. Maybe at least an hour one or even a little more if you can. So wherever that's possible in your day, whatever you can do to lighten the day, if it's been a day, do it. It wouldn't be a bad idea to start journaling these experiences. When do you notice that these zone out moments, where you just totally check out, when do they happen? Is it overstimulation? Is it that you just kind of got a lot on your mind already? Is it that you're just really tired and burnt out already and there's just nothing more to give at that point, and so your ears aren't able to listen? What's going on around you when these moments happen physically and inside? What's your thought process? Are you kind of having a bit of a shit day? Whatever it is, just journal it down, write it down, start to notice the patterns that emerge, because that will tell you a lot about where you need to make some changes. What are your zoning out triggers, if you will? It's important to figure those out and normalize it. Don't stigmatize yourself for this when it happens. It's important to have awareness. It's important to do something with it, of course, but also be kind to yourself, because it is part of who you are, and it's just your body's early warning system that, hey, I can't do much more of this. It's there to teach you something and to let you know. So the more aware you become, the more patterns you notice, and the more you're able to see it coming, that's when you'll be able to see it coming. That's where your reset anchor will come in, that little 5-minute break that we talked about. It will really help you recalibrate, kind of get back to present much quicker and not just fall off the deep end into a rabbit hole or a black hole or wherever it is that folks like you and I go. If your brain checks out, it's not betraying you. It's just asking for relief. The next time you feel yourself drifting, don't push harder. Pause, ground, and anchor. Then later, ask yourself, what was my nervous system trying to escape from? That's where you'll get the answers that you need. So get out there, give it a try, and keep getting more familiar with who you are and how you function right here.